The roots we have evaluated so far have been whole numbers or ratios of whole numbers that we could easily do in our head. We've evaluated the roots that we already know the answer to. Like we know they're in our multiplication tables. Like for instance, we have the square root of 9. We know that the square root of 9 is 3 because 3 squared is equal to 9. So it stands to reason that the square root of 9 is 3 because 3 times 3 is 9, right? Which is the other way to write that. 3 times 3 is 9. Another one that we know, let me put some more up here for you. We can evaluate something like this pretty easily because we know the square root value of those. We know that we can turn this into the square root of 4 over the square root of 9, which allows us to say 2 over 3, because the square root of 4 is 2 and the square root of 9 is 3. We can also do an indexed radical. This number here tells us how many identical factors we need to get from this number here. And we know that 27 is equal to 3 times 3 times 3. So the third index, or the third root of 27 is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is equal to 27. And we wanted 3 of those, right? So here you go. So let's see, what's another one? 4th root of 16. We know that 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 16. We needed 4 identical factors, so the answer to that is 2. We've been able to solve these pretty readily because they go along with the multiplication tables that we have already learned so far. We don't have to stretch very far to figure out what they are. But what if we have a number like square root of 10? What in the world does that equal? And how can we evaluate that? It must be a little bit more than 3, because 3 squared is equal to 9, and 9 is 1 less than 10. So it has to be, 3 has to be less than that, right? But because we know that 4 squared is equal to 16, 3 and then 4, it's got to be less than 4. So it's in here somewhere in between these numbers, but we don't know what it is just yet, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate some of these to see what the answers could possibly be and where they could be located. So let me clear the page and let's do 92.1. So let me write it up here for us. So 92.1 says, between what two consecutive integers is the square root of 69? So first let's think about our multiplication table. And the first square root that is close to 69 that I can think of is 8 times 8. 8 squared is equal to 64. 8 times 8 is equal to 64. And 9 times 9, or 9 squared, is equal to 81. So it has to be somewhere in between these two, because the square root of 69 is greater than 64, but it's less than 81. So we can say that 8 is less than the square root of 69. 8 is less than square root of 69, and square root of 69 is less than 9. It's somewhere between these two numbers. And that would be how we would answer 92.1 with this inequality statement here. All right, so that's all you're going to do is you are going to look at your multiplication table of numbers times themselves. And I would highly recommend that you have a reference on the back of your notebook and put down this information. 2 squared We know that's 4. 3 squared, we know that that is 9. 4 square, we know is 16. 5 square is 25. 6 square is 36. 7 square is 49. 8 square is 64. 9 square is 81. 10 square is 100. 11 square is going to be 121. And 12 square is 144. So if you have that reference information in the back of your notebook, you'll be able to answer these much faster, because then you just look at the number here and find what two numbers it falls in between. Like right here, 69 comes between 64 and 81. So you would just write a statement with both of these less than. You take the 8 and the 9, you put them on either side, and you put the one that you're looking for in the middle. That's how you would write that. So I'm going to erase this here, and I'm going to put 92.3 up, or 92.2, sorry. All right, 92, oh, sorry, I wrote the wrong number. That should be 92.2. It asks us between which two consecutive integers is the cube root of 250. So this means which three integers would this fall between? Or not which three integers, but which two integers would this fall between if this were the cube root? So we're going to get our reference information. Let's start with that. So I would probably look at, let's look at 5 squared first, or 5 cubed, because we're looking for 3's now, right? So I would pull up my calculator, and I would say 5 times 5 times 5 is going to be 125. And if you look on your scientific calculator, you've got a little button. I'll show you. Let me pull up my calculator here, and I'll show you how to find it so that you can, if you don't have a reference information on the back of your notebook, if you haven't written this down, if you'll look right here on your calculator, there's a little X with a 3, and that's a cube. You can just type an integer, in this case 5, and then hit this X3, and it tells you what the answer is. Isn't that cool? All right, so that would be 125. So 6 cubed would be, let's pull that back up. 6 cubed is 216. We're getting closer. 7 cubed would be, let's put that in. 7 cubed is 343. So 343. So it is going to come between the 6 and the 7. So I would say 6 is less than the cube root of 250, which is less than 7. And that would be your answer. So let's look at one more. We're going to do 92.3. So let me pause and put that up there for you. All right, so now they're making it a little bit harder. Between which two consecutive integers is the fourth root of 123? So first off, let's start with 2. Let's see if that works. Now, on your scientific calculator, you're going to see a little XY. And what that does is it allows you to type in whatever root you need. Like here we have squared, here we have cubed. This allows you to raise it to whatever power you need to raise it to. And in this case, that's going to be the 4th power, right? That's what this little number is. Let's start with 2. 2, then we press the button, XY, and then we press the index that we need, which is 4. And we hit equal. That's 16. So it's not 16. That's nowhere near 123. So let's try the number 4. We'll skip ahead a little bit. So 4xy, 4 is 256. Now that's too big. So let's go back to 3. 3xy, 4 gives us 81. Okay. So 3 to the 4th is 81. And 4 to the 4th, we know that was a big number. Let's do that one again. Let's see what it was. So 4xy to the 4th is 256. So we know that 3 is less than, because 81 is less than 123, the 4th root of 123, which is less than 4, because the 4th root of 4 gives us 256. So this would be the answer to that statement. It is between these two numbers. And that is how you're going to write your answer in the system. You're going to use these symbols, and you're going to write it just like that whenever you have a practice problem. All right, I will see you in lesson 93.